skull in with a brick. What led him to commit such a violent crime against not only his mother and her friend, but his grandparents and 6 additional young women?
Edmund Emil Kemper III was born on December 18, 1948 in Burbank, California, to an alcoholic, abusive mother and father who would later on abandon his family. As a child, his mother would lock him up in the basement out of fear that he would molest his 2 sisters. She would often ridicule him for his size, as he is much larger than the average kid. His abnormal traits appeared at an early age. He would act out sexual activities with his sister's dolls, enjoy pretending to be asphyxiated in a gas chamber as a game, and said that if he were to kiss his high school teacher, he would have to kill her. At the age of 10, he buried one of his pet cats, dug it up after asphyxiated, and cut it off its head. 3 years later, he cut off the head of another cat and displayed it on a platter. Despite his strange behavior, Kemper's IQ was incredibly high, nearing genius level.
At age 14, Ed left home and traveled to his father's house where he hoped to stay. However, his stepmother did not approve of him, and he was sent to live with his grandparents. His grandmother isolated him, preventing him from ever leaving the house. He grew to resent his grandmother the same way he did his mother. In 1964, when he was just 15, he shot and killed his grandparents in their home. He first called his mother to admit what he did. She told him to call the police and turn himself in. When asked why he killed his grandparents, Ed stated he did it just because he wanted to see what it felt like to kill Grandma.
After being diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, he was admitted to a Tuskegee State Hospital, where he stayed until 20. During his time at the psychiatric hospital, he was re-diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder, severe personality disturbances, and with strong narcissistic traits. Kemper was well-trusted and well-liked by members of the hospital. He befriended his psychologist and was intelligent enough to gain their trust. This led to his doctors trusting him enough to release him and into the custody of his mother, despite the fact that he knew he wasn't going to recover and still had dark fantasies.
He had thoughts of killing his mother immediately after being released, but decided he needed to practice first. He attempted to live normally, working a series of odd jobs and reading psychology books. Kemper worked alongside state troopers on highway control. This is where he noticed the increasing number of female hitchhikers. After being injured and unable to work, Ed turned his mind towards something else. Between May 1972 and February 1973, Kemper went on a murder spree, killing a total of 6 college-age girls before murdering his mother and her friend. His first victims were Marianne Pesky and Anita Mary Lucchesa, 18-year-old college students who were hitchhiking along the highway. He picked them up, drove them to a remote location, and stabbed them to death. He took their bodies home, photographing them and performing acts of mutilation, dismemberment, and necrophilia. He would bury their remains in his backyard or drop their heads into a ravine. He occasionally kept parts of their bodies as trophies or cooked their flesh. He killed 4 more girls around the same age, picking them up while hiking or hitchhiking, decapitating them, and engaging in intercourse with their bodies. His youngest victim was 15-year-old Aiko Ku, who got into a car with him after he offered her a ride to dance practice. During the same time he was killing, Kemper got engaged to 18-year-old Carla Schattenberg. The two had a wedding planned for the summer of 1973. However, in April of 1973, he killed his mother, Clarnell Strandberg, and her best friend, Sarah Taylor Hallett, before driving to Colorado.
In Colorado, he called the police and confessed to the murders of his mother and friend. He later stated that the reason he admitted to the murders was because of his fiancée. He had gained the trust of the police officers over the years, and they initially thought that the call was a joke. However, he convinced the authorities of his confession's authenticity, and he was arrested and charged with 8 counts of first-degree murder. He incarcerated at the California Medical Facility, haunted by the murders of his 10 victims.